In this video, we'll see how to create worksets and assign objects to those worksets. We'll see how to control the visibility of worksets, both globally and within individual views. And we'll also show how to use the worksharing display to help manage the worksets. Let's begin by opening the file Home Studio Worksets. And as this is a central model, we'll be prompted to create a local copy of it, so we'll choose OK to continue. And in this project, we have some worksets created. So if I zoom in and choose some of the objects here, looking at their properties in the Identity Data panel, I can see that this roof is currently on the workset Residence Exterior. We'll review the worksets, so from the Collaborate ribbon tab, on the Manage Collaboration panel, we'll choose Worksets. We can see that we have a number of worksets here, so Residence Exterior and Residence Interior. We have a Site workset and the Studio Interior workset. And we also have the default worksets, Shared Levels and Grids, and Workset 1. We'll choose OK to come out of here. And to see which objects belong to which worksets, we could select objects and then look in their properties to see the workset that's been assigned. But we also have the option to use worksharing display. And when we enable this, it will give each workset a colour and colour the objects in the view. So from the view control bar, we'll choose worksharing display and we'll choose to display the worksets. And now we can see that the objects in the model have all adopted a colour. If we go back to the view control bar and click on the worksharing display, we can choose the worksharing display settings. And here we can see the list of our worksets and the colour that represents each workset. So the Residence Exterior in the red colour here, with the Interior in the blue, the Site being in the purple colour, and the yellow for the Studio Interior. We have Workset 1 with the colour switched off, and that shows us that the exterior of the studio is currently on Workset 1. So we'll choose OK, and we'll create a workset for the exterior of the studio. So from the Collaborate ribbon tab, on the Manage Collaboration panel, we'll choose the worksets. And here we'll choose to create a new workset, and we'll call this Studio Exterior. I'll select OK to create it. We can see now that's in the list, and I've been assigned the owner of that workset as I've just created it. So we'll choose OK. We're now prompted as to whether we want this to be the active workset, so I'll say yes. And now for the existing objects in the view, we can select these, and from their properties we can assign those to the Studio Exterior workset. Once we've done that, we'll see they take on board the colour. We'll go back to the worksharing display settings to see that the Studio Exterior has been assigned this pink colour. I'll choose OK to come out of this. And to make it easier to assign these objects to the Studio Exterior workset, we could switch off the other worksets. That will mean that we won't accidentally pick those objects and place them on the wrong one. So to do this, we'll go back to the worksets from the Manage Collaboration panel on the Collaborate ribbon tab. And the two worksets I need to work with are Workset 1 and the Studio Exterior workset. So we can choose the other worksets by holding down the Control key to multiple select them. And now from the tools on the side, we can close those worksets. So when we choose OK, we can see the other worksets have now been closed and are no longer visible. This means that we can now choose these objects just by creating a window selection. We'll need to filter out certain objects. As they are hosted, they will adopt the workset of their host object. So from the Modify ribbon menu, I'll choose Filter, and I'll uncheck the curtain panels, curtain wall grids and mullions, and also the doors. Now I'll choose OK, and from the Properties palette here, we can come and assign these to the workset Studio Exterior. Now they've all taken on that colour, we'll go back to the workset settings. We can select the remainder of the worksets and open those up. And then when we choose OK, those worksets will be reopened and our model will be back in its entirety. When opening and closing worksets in that way, that applies to the entire project. So if I go back to the worksets, and to show an alternative way of doing this, in the status bar at the bottom of Revit, we also have the active workset and the tool here to open the worksets dialog box. So for example, if I now come and choose the two residence worksets and close those down and choose OK, we can see that's disappeared out of this view. If I go and open one of the floor plans, so I'll open up the first floor plan, we can see that's also switched it off in this view. And we also have some perspective views here, so we'll open up the residence perspective. But as the residence worksets have been switched off, we can't actually see the building. So I'll go back to the worksets, and we'll choose the residence exterior and interior, and we'll open those back up. And they'll be opened back up into all of the views, so they're visible throughout the entire project now. Going back to our residence perspective, we can see the studio block in the background. So if we wanted to switch that off, but just in this view, we would do that via the visibility graphic overrides. So from the properties palette, we'll choose to edit visibility graphic overrides. And now we can see we have a tab for worksets at the end here. And I can come and choose those two studio worksets, the interior and exterior worksets. And currently they're set to be visible by the global settings, which is visible. So I can choose here and we can decide whether we want to show or hide specifically in this view. So I'll select hide and apply. And now we can see that those worksets have been switched off, but only in this view. So they're still here in the other 3D view and also in the first floor plan. So now looking at the status bar at the bottom of the view, we can see the studio exterior workset is the active workset. And zooming into the residence here, I can see that I need to add an extra chair into the lounge here. So if I go back to the architecture ribbon tab and choose to place a component, we have the correct component in the type selector. So we can come into the view here and we can place this down. I'll choose modify to finish placing it. Now when I select this, looking at its properties, I can see that it's actually been placed on the Studio Exterior workset. This is because the active workset is the Studio Exterior workset, and therefore any new objects created will be placed on that workset. So therefore it's important when we're working to make sure we set the correct workset to be active. So I'll set the residence interior. And this time I'll create another chair and place this down. We can see that this chair has now been created on the residence interior workset as opposed to the original one which was on the studio exterior. Although if it is placed on the wrong workset, we can quickly identify it using the worksharing display. And it's easy to select it and then through its properties place it onto the correct workset. So now we've made those changes and got our worksets organised. We'll synchronize this file with the central model and then close down the local file. I'll relinquish the elements as it's good practice to do this. And now instead of choosing to open the previous file from the recent files list, I'll use the browse option to open. Now when I select the file, looking at the open button just here, we can choose whether we want to open the last viewed worksets, or we could specify exactly which worksets we wanted to open, or just the ones that are editable. So I'll choose specify and then select open. As we already have a local copy of this, we'll overwrite the existing one. And before the file is now opened, we can see our list of worksets. And it may be that we don't want to actually open the studio worksets at this point, so we can close those. And now when we say OK, the file will be opened without the studio interior and exterior workset. However, if we need to add these at a later date, we can go to our workset settings and just choose those and open them as we need them. So that ends this video, and to recap, in this video we've seen how to create worksets and assign objects to those worksets. We've seen how to control the visibility of worksets both globally and within individual views. And we've also shown how to use the worksharing display to help manage worksets.